Introducing Research Methodology 2025, your ticket to mastering research, brought to you by the Center for Learning and Teaching at Foreman Christian College University in collaboration with National Academy of Higher Education at the Higher Education Commission and the United Board. This isn't just another course. It's built around the renowned Vitae Researcher Development Framework, covering everything from deep subject knowledge to personal effectiveness, professional standards, and real-world impact. We are immensely grateful to our experts who have graciously offered their time and expertise in the spirit of knowledge equity. These experts are among the leading voices in their respective fields. And yes, it's 100% online and totally free, wherever you are in the world. Whether you're a postgraduate, early career researcher, or simply passionate about better research, this course is for you. Join us and be part of a movement for knowledge equity. Sign up now and unlock your research potential.
जी अल्ताफ हम सूख गए आपके इंतजार में मुझे मुझे शक हुआ, अनम्यूट कर लें अपने आप को। मुझे शक हुआ कि शायद आप आए नहीं सफर से, आपने रात को पहुंचना था।
I was home, तो मैं 10 बजे जाग गया था। I had my breakfast and everything, तो तो फिर I was ready for it, but वही होता है, आगे पीछे हो
हाँ
जाता
जी, कोई बात नहीं, यू आर वेल इन टाइम एंड देयर इज नो, और आपकी पावर पॉइंट क्योंकि नहीं है, सो आई गेस
आई डू हैव अ पावर पॉइंट, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि ये 20 मिनट की जो डिस्कशन है ना, इसके लिए पावर पॉइंट और रीडिंग्स मैंने कुछ भेज दी थी इनफैक्ट
जी।
these are
हाँ जी,
the
वो भेज दी थी, वी विल शेयर। मगर अगर पावर पॉइंट है तो इट्स नॉट अ बैड आइडिया। अगर आप यू जस्ट वांट टू टॉक टू इट, वी हैव हैड Asif Iftikhar also talked through his session. So
ठीक,
we are
लेट मी
okay
सी
with
इफ
it.
द पावर पॉइंट इज क्योंकि वो पिछले साल वाली होगी. इट्स द सेम, लाइक वी आर टॉकिंग बेसिक्स बेसिकली, लाइक.
Okay.
जी जी.
Have you done any addition of AI into the mixed methods research or not yet?
इन
You
द
are
मिक्स
not a
मेथड
fan
उसमें
of
ये
AI.
होता है कि नहीं नहीं वो नहीं, लेकिन असल में चूंकि हम बात कर रहे थे ना ऑन द वेरी थीम, तो
Hmm.
वो फिर जब मेथड्स को यूज करते हैं तो उसमें आएगा. इट्स काइंड ऑफ 20 मिनट्स टाइम है, तो मैंने इसलिए. अच्छा, अभी आपने, मैं आपको भेजने ही वाला था. अभी एक नई रिसर्च आई है जो जो यूज ऑफ एआई को बहुत रिस्ट्रिक्ट करना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि
हाँ
एमआईटी की
जी,
नई रिसर्च आई है. हैव यू सीन
जी,
दैट? तो इट इज बिकमिंग क्वाइट कंट्रोवर्शियल कि आप कितना
हाँ जी.
यूज करें. बट वील टॉक अबाउट दैट. आई रियली वांटेड टू टॉक अबाउट
I
दैट.
think what you could do is you could talk about the different, if we have time, of course,
या.
how AI is still a controversial
हाँ जी.
topic. But the
या.
problem is that no matter how much you want to stop it,
हाँ
there's
जी. हाँ
no
जी.
way of developing accountability for its use.
हाँ
So
जी.
usme, it becomes more of a personal effort and a
हाँ जी.
personal value judgment.
क्योंकि आई इंटीग्रेट इनटू इट. क्योंकि एक जो इशू है ना, वो ये भी बनता है कि व्हेन यू व्हेन यू आर इनटू जिसको कहते हैं लिटरेचर रिव्यू स्टेज,
जी,
वहां पे मैंने देखा है जो अंडर पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनको बहुत प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही हैं बिकॉज दे आर रिलाइंग ऑन एआई. For some people, it's really good. Like a former student of mine who is from Bada Cyber Agency, and his English is not good. And he wrote his life story, kind of an article, and he sent it to me. And since I know his life, I knew that it was up to the mark. The prompts he gave, everything was just good. So it depends upon how you use it. And he asked
जी.
me for advice, और मैंने उसको कहा कि मेरी एडवाइस तो इतनी है कि अगर आप इसको मतलब करें कि इसको एक दफा पढ़ लें, एंड यू सी दैट विच पार्ट्स ऑफ योर लाइफ आर मिसिंग फ्रॉम दिस, तो दैट वुड बी गुड.
Hmm. I guess we are good. Okay, Altaf, we are nearly 11, actually 1 minute up. So, Gohar, will you start with the netiquettes? And then, Altaf, I'll just speak for a short while, introduce you, and then the floor is yours for nearly 30
ठीक
to 5 minutes, and then we can
ठीक
take question and answers. ठीक है जी? We
ठीक.
already have
I'm
lots of.
just asking. I have got something that I've borrowed from LinkedIn the other way. It's kind
जी,
of a model that they have made, and it explains it really well, better
please
than the
use,
PowerPoints. So
absolutely.
it's not mine, I must
No,
say.
no, but you can give a reference, Altaf, and share
हाँ जी.
it. I think it will be
हाँ जी.
excellent. Excellent. Ji Gohar, over to you.
Everyone, good morning, and I welcome you all to the 10th webinar of our research methodology course. The name of the webinar is Mixed Method Research. The name of the module is Research Methodology. I'll quickly go over the netiquette for the session. You're all requested to please rename your Zoom accounts to the name of your university first and then your name afterwards. And please make sure, regardless you're joining through YouTube or through Zoom, you are requested to please fill out your details, your name, your university name, and your email address in the certification form. We'll be sharing the certificate form after 10 minutes in the chat box, and the chat will be disabled for the first 30 minutes, and then we'll enable that. And you're all requested to please be mindful and be sensitive about the chat, because there's a lot of people just writing their names and their university name. You're advised not to do that, so that we can only cater to the questions, and please make sure that you rephrase your questions properly so that they can be addressed. And that's it from my side. Over to you, Dr. Ruxana.
Yeah, thank you, Gohar. Gohar is the manager at CLT. I think if you saw the introductory YouTube, we are a team of 5 right now, and a very robust team. We are very thankful to all of you for being here and having the confidence in our research methodology course that has become very credible all over the world. We are very proud of that. HEC of Higher Education Commission is a collaborator, as well as United Board for Christian higher education institutions across Asia, housed in Philippines. They have been very, very helpful also, and they have shared it with all their institutions across many countries. uh, our main credibility arises from experts like Altaf Khan and so many others, if you've been with us. So far, as Gohar said, this is the 10th webinar, and of the module, the fourth module, that talks about research methodology. This is the fourth session, and we have one more to go. We have done qualitative, quantitative, scholarship of teaching and learning. Today we will do mixed methods. I think, Altaf, there's a basic problem. It is not method, it's mixed methods. S in front of. Gohar, please do that. You made a serious mistake in how it is worded. And we have another powerful session to go in, which is by David from I think, American University of Sharjah, I'm not sure, to digital humanities as a part of interdisciplinary research methodology. And in that, you will come across AI and many other tools. We have over 14,000 registrations that will all look forward to your Altaf, your video and materials that you share. The international is 2,000 plus and 12,000 plus are national. 120 countries. Gohar, I take that always with a pinch of salt. If you put that forward, please put that number correct. I think there's something like 85 countries. You have lots of doubling that happens in your data, but even that is a formidable amount. And all regions of the world, starting from South America to North America to Australia, New Zealand, most of Asia, and Central Asia and Middle East. So we are very, very honored for your confidence in us. Altaf, that you see here with us, he is the Dean of Humanities at our campus. He's a professor and he is a PhD from the Leipzig University in Germany. He earned as a Dart scholar. I did not know you were a Dart scholar. We have quite many. We have Samina, Kausar Abdullah, quite a few actually. And you have served as a Glidden visiting professor at the Center of International Journalism in a very powerful Scripps School of Journalism at Ohio University. You're a senior Fulbright visiting fellow and a postdoc. You taught at the University of Peshawar before you migrated to Lahore. I hope you are happy with us, Altaf. And your research interests include international journalism, development communication, media systems, freedom of expression that's getting tighter by the day, intercultural communication and social media. You have already authored 4 books and published over 27 articles. Altaf, over to you without much ado. And we so look forward to your insightful talk. Gohar, please check the mixed method. It's killing me looking at it without an S.
All right, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Roxana. First, I just saw this video yesterday, and there was a live television interview of an expert on the ongoing conflict. And what he couldn't manage was to fix his background. He wanted to have a different background, and it didn't work. I was trying the same too, and I decided not to do it.
The foreground is too good. Don't forget about the background. We're happy with the foreground.
Thank you. And then what happened was that the live interview was cancelled. And he said, once I find a proper background, because it became kind of funny. So,
Yeah.
and as you said, the mixed methods research, this is, I sent you 2 emails, like Gohar have seen those. And these are from 2 of my former students. One is doing his PhD at Ohio University. And he wrote that when I came to the US, I came to know that mixed method research is not quantitative surveys with a commentary. It's a separate form of research. And that's I think, one of the good beginnings to any introduction to mixed method research, because most of the people think that it's kind of gathering some comments from experts or anybody, or doing one focus group discussion, having some interviews, whatever, one or two or everything, and then you do a survey and you add these to them, and that's it. Like that's how it works. It doesn't. But it seems like that. Like I remember when my professor asked me to develop my structure, and it was the year 2000. It's 25 years back, and he said we were walking to a Nobel laureate's house in Germany. You have many of those, and in chemistry. And he said, well, I want you to do something and put something empirical into it. Because right now, everybody, even if you are doing a biographical research, people would like to have some empirical aspect of it, asking questions, how was the guy, not relying on books and everything. So that was not mixed. What he was saying was exactly what we take it right now. I decided to go for a mixed method research. So one of the most important things, I'm sorry, I couldn't find my PowerPoint. I don't know if you have it. Go, I don't know if
Yes,
you have.
I'm searching
Yeah,
it
if you
for.
have it, just put it up, then it will be easy. Because my computer went dark the other day, my laptop, and I had to redo it. And the guy who did it forgot to put PowerPoint into it. My phone has it, my computer doesn't have it. So I'm sorry for the
What I
inconvenience.
love about Altaf, your talks always are the way you sprinkle it with personal anecdotes and stories. And I think that's what makes it exciting and more close to home. Mixed method research, as we all know, is a mix of both qualitative and quantitative. And we have had a brief of both. But then Altaf is going to talk to us about how, when do you use it? And it brings the best of both, actually. And many like you and me, and I have seen also people in natural sciences go for mixed methods
Yeah,
research
yeah.
because
I,
they think they find the social implications or other emotional implications to research
yeah.
questions. Is that yours? We got
Yeah,
it
that's
right?
mine. The heuristic question, why do we do it anyway? You
Yeah.
already explained that. Why do we do it anyway? Like normally, the reason we do it is that, like the reason I did it, again, I'm giving a personal example. Like I had developed a qualitative research lab project, and it was about like journalists' working conditions in Pakistan, its profile of journalists in Pakistan. And then I brought it to my professor. It was qualitative interviewing in depth for journalists. And I always also have to tell my colleagues and students, if they are there, don't make too big projects. Like if projects are too big, you have to keep in mind that students come to me at master's level, and they say they are going to interview 20 people. I said in-depth interviews of 20 people is kind of a disaster. You can't do that. Like you can't complete a research because it won't be in-depth. It will never be in-depth. So and so I went there, and the next question I was asked whether there is a study on journalist working conditions in Pakistan. And I said, not that I know of. That's the novelty of it. And they said, but you don't have a profile of journalists. Like, how do a journalist, like if you meet any journalist, what would you expect that he or she would be? Instead of focusing on many of those. And so most of the time you want to give some context to something that you have planned, uh, like in qualitative research, and then you decide for it, okay, this is how I would do. Or sometimes you wish to give an emotional side of it, as you mentioned. If that's why natural sciences does it also, that you would like to give besides the number some human side to it, and that's why where it becomes very important. So that's the reason we do it. So
Would you like to, Altaf, that we send you your PowerPoint and you move with it yourself, or would you tell us next, or whatever? And Gohar can do it.
I'll do it. I think it's working for me.
Okay. Do you have it with you, the PowerPoint? Gohar, did you send it?
No, Gohar has uploaded it. I'm just seeing if I can operate it.
No, you cannot till we send
No,
it to you.
Okay,
I
okay.
was
So
emailing you right now.
okay, Gohar. So let's okay. I'm sorry.
I think we could start with a generic discussion on, and he will
Yeah.
send you the PowerPoint, and
Yeah, okay.
then you will be able to share it.
So one of the
So
questions.
start with the 5 questions. Gohar, put the 5 questions on the screen, so at least Altaf could start with his talk. I think that will help, right,
Yeah,
Altaf?
sure.
And he will send it to you in the meantime.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. What do you want to know? Like exactly what is your purpose? Do you want to know a human situation, or do you want to know an overall profound? When I am speaking from humanities, social sciences perspective. So natural sciences might have a different focus, but my knowledge is limited to what I do.
Altaf, he has emailed you the PowerPoint in case you're more comfortable doing it yourself.
Yeah.
We'll take 2 seconds off.
Yeah, it's okay.
And I think in mixed methods, if I may continue, there is a variation. Sometimes people start with the qualitative and
Yes.
consolidate it with the qualitative data, and sometimes they start with the qualitative and they end up with the quantitative data, quantifying some of the data to make more sense out of it. And I've seen many researchers that go to and fro the two, from one to the
Yes.
other throughout their research to make more meaning and to make it more wholesome. And so mixed methods research is actually considered to be a very powerful way and a very 360-degree ways of doing research. So over to you, Altaf.
Thank you. So you are already explaining what I'm planning to say. So thank you for that. There is no gap here. So it's really like basically I would say that all other practitioners who work are not reflective or theory based, but sometimes it demands, especially if you are going into, in my opinion, going into human conditions, then it's very important to have an understanding of how the human situation is evolving, and for that very reason, if the thinking pattern that it demands is basically systematic and evaluative thinking, because it gives you an opportunity to reflect more and to dig deeper. And if you are thinking to dig deeper, then you won't be satisfied simply with a profile which is quantitative most of the time, or only the emotional side, which is considered to be a bit subjective. It's a different discussion, but we won't go into that. And it's also, I always say this, that whenever we develop a project, we should keep in mind that it's not simply getting a degree. It has far bigger implications than that, because something that goes into a body of knowledge becomes very important. It is something that we share with humanity. So it's always good to keep in mind that what would be the effects, how would people coming after me see it, what guidance they would get out of it. And if you are into humanities, social science, and even natural sciences, you always like to have a human side to it. COVID is a big example. Like I always mention it, this has changed our thinking towards natural sciences. And then the question is that what do you want to know, basically? Like it's the question of focus, as Dr. Roxana mentioned, that what is your priority, basically? Like which aspect would be the detailed one, the one that will dominate your study, and how would you collect the data? Because these are decisions. Some people just start something, and I'm just saying it because of my experience, that they pre-decide that they'll do a mixed method research. That's not good. Although I do prefer doing it, but most of my projects are like that. Like most of the students that work me also get into that direction, and so if you have a clear idea of what you aim to get out of it, then you can pre-decide to have a mixed method research structure. But even if you do that, it's important that you have to understand uh, which methods are you using to collect data or engage stakeholders, like what is the dominant aspect of it. And and one of the biggest question is, and this is something that students come up with this problem, that they gather data, they gather enormous amount of data, and it's not kind of in sync with the quantitative is not in sync with the qualitative, and it becomes really problematic. And I think that's where I would advise everybody to strategize your mixed method research project. Don't go into it without being prepared. Yes, there are realities in the field that make you change your initial processes. It could be in quantitative, where you might hit a wall by not getting the required results, or one or two questions might not be getting any answer. That's just fine. Don't worry about that. But in qualitative, it's even more difficult, because if you are going into participant observation and you can't go into it, then it's just done. You can't do it. So I think it's that happens too. So, but that's the what Herbert Blumer called it, the obdurate nature of the field. So you should be prepared for that. That your literature review, your studies, and everything might fail in the field if you get into empirical research. And one word of caution, like mixed method research is empirical research. Many people think that the book references that they have given qualify as mixed method. They don't. So the rationale is you want to obtain kind of multiple perspective. This is what we call validation, that there are many areas from which you already know what validation is. And also the idea is to develop a comprehensive understanding. What is comprehensive understanding? It means that if you are doing a predominantly quantitative research, and it's about a human situation, you would really like to have a human side to it. Like you can't represent human beings in numbers, and you can't really, it's not easy to really transform numbers into human emotions. That's not possible. And it's true for natural sciences also. COVID is a big eye opener. And also statistical results. And that's where, again, if you are doing a huge quantitative survey and it brings you all the things, and then you say, okay, what does it exactly mean, this result? Like that number of people are doing this. Like for Pakistan, for example, when Pakistan survived COVID, everybody was asking this question: how did these guys survive? And it's really interesting that the Economist or the Foreign Policy wrote that because their living conditions are so harsh, they are immune to it. That was racist, and that was really looking down on a nation which is the fifth biggest nation on earth. But they didn't have any other explanation. Uh, and also contextualization of measures, like how would you work? Like it's also a strategic process. I'm not saying that if you are doing qualitative or quantitative alone, it's not a strategic process, but here you have to really weigh your options. Mixed method research is qualitative and quantitative. Again, the question of how mixing these, I simplify it most for myself. Like qualitative is more effective. It gives space to human emotions. And the quantitatives are more rational. This is not an absolute definition. It's just my working definition. When I work and I think, okay, here it is, I want to know the rational aspect of what's going on. And then I want to know what the effective level of understanding for this process would be. There might be other reasons, but this is kind of oversimplification. Again, the question that, is it just mixing the two? We already answered the questions. So the convergent parallel design, embedded design, explanatory and sequential, and exploratory sequential, we already know that. Convergent parallel is where both of the processes go at the same time. The embedded one is that one is embedded in the other one. Like most of the time, qualitative is embedded somehow in the quantitative one. So there are, you might have used these Likert scales and what we call opinion statements in quantitative research. Basically, opinion statements in quantitative research represent the embedded design. Basically, this is what they are doing. You are not using a separate structure for it. You might be using it, but already in the quantitative, you are having questions that are answering qualitative emotional questions. And you are giving a Likert scale. I always say give a 5-point scale because it gives you a very good middle value. But that's again a question of design. Explanatory research is basically sequential is that basically what you are doing is that you are having predominantly quantitative. So explain things as the word goes, and then you will have a qualitative side of it, which will strengthen it by giving the emotional affective side. Exploratory sequential is basically you are having a predominantly qualitative research structure, and then you say, okay, here I am, I have it all, but again, I would like to have some validation uh, through asking questions to a larger group of people who would be validating my qualitative structure. Because as we all know, qualitative studies are not big. Like you have to choose your population wisely. You can't really approach everybody. If you can reach 200 or 500 people through quantitative survey, you would hardly be able to reach 10. 10 is too much, I think. So at times, exploratory sequential research helps you in basically giving the idea of of uh, how good your results in individual interviews are. Despite the fact that we validate individual opinion by saying that it's as much part of truth. My opinion about myself uh, is uh, is also part of truth as much as anybody else's opinion about me. But still, you would have experienced people who are doing research and they go into individual in-depth interviews. Uh, and already a hand raised. Should I answer questions if there are any?
No, sir, we'll cater to them towards the end of the session.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I often come across students who decide to interview an expert, and the expert talks about themselves, and we all are in a habit of listening to our own voices. And then in the end, you say, okay, guys, there is a lot of stuff that's useless. But I had to listen to all this and also record it and also transcribe it because that's my job. This guy is an expert. So at that time, your exploratory sequential format might help you in understanding, okay, these are the parts that are useful. You don't want to use your own decision and you say, okay, I would like to validate it by asking more questions, people a general question and developing a structure. Yeah, at the end of it, I don't know why. So I just, as I have, Dr. Ruftana and I, we talked about it in the beginning, that the use of AI is something that is being very important. And I think one problem that there is this new MIT study that is coming up and which has shown and the researchers uh, have published it in brought it out on media, and I think uh, some very important news outlets have shared it because they thought that it's very important to see the implications even before it's peer reviewed and even before other studies are going parallel, is to understand that use of AI might make you simply dumb. You might become so lazy that the process of innovation might stop. And it's also, as I'll mention the researcher who said, the lead research, she said that I want to bring it in very quickly before they start offering AI in kindergartens. So what happens is basically in research, basically this is what happens. You interview somebody and I'm just saying the qualitative side, and you say, okay, this is what he said, get bullet points, you will get a transcript. And then send it to the person who said, and they will look at it and they said, it's perfectly written. This is added to what I would have liked to say, and it's good. That's bad. That's wrong, because your effort to transcribe word by word what the other person has said is important. And even before that, when you are developing your problem statement, if you use AI without using your own intellect, like it will really be harmful. Uh, in principle, it's an ethical mistake because every research is based upon uh, two things. It's the basics of it. Like as Robert Merton's famous book On the Shoulders of the Giants, which explores the idea of where did this phrase come from. Every research is on the shoulders of the giants. Like you always rely in developing your project, even before you get into your literature review, your abstract, your hypothesis is validated by reading other people who have contributed to it. And when you read it, you'll find many of your questions have already been answered. And you say, okay, this is already a done deal. But you will see that there is a principle of novelty to it, which is something that you give to this research, like localization of a data that is collected of a study that has been done in the US or maybe in Latin America or even Africa. And that's the point where your own initiative, writing yourself and developing it yourself, would become very important. So even some people even falter at the very beginning. It's not simply assignments. It's also developing concepts that people are using AI because they think that it's smart, but it's over smart, honestly. When it gives something, you have to humanize it. You all know what humanization means in AI terms. It means making mistakes. So better to write a human project instead of going into something that is not human. And also, I think it's very important that we go into studies uh, where we do literature review. Literature review is becoming one of the biggest targets of AI infiltration in our times, because people are relying because they say ChatGPT 4 doesn't give you bad references. So let's go for that. Some people really take it out and put it in. That's the worst thing. I've seen that too also. By the way, like I got a 54 pages of MPhil proposal and I saw it and I said, so who wrote it? An MPhil student writing 54 pages. And I gave it back and I got another seven or 11 pages, a summary of that one. Again, an AI developed one, and I had to send it back. And so the only option I was left with, and I told the student that I would like, if this one also goes into the AI, I would like you to come into my office and write it in front of you. It will waste a couple of hours of my time, but we will have quality. So basically, the literature reviews, yes, it's good. You can find good books. You can find good books. There are going to be book suggestions that are useful, but at the same time, it will be counterproductive to depend upon that. So I think it's the use of AI is something that is good and bad. Bad in the sense that if you are able to maintain the principle of novelty and your own critical thinking, which by the way is going to be really dormant, because even from a neuroscientific perspective, they are saying that it will really uh, decimate the urge to innovate, which is very dangerous amongst adults. So I think if you are able to balance, if you are able to use it as a tool, it's very good. But if you are going to use it extensively to work for you, it's bad. I think I'm more than 30 minutes. So I have wasted a couple of minutes, but I think I'll stop here. And if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to answer those.
Altaf, sorry, Mavish takes over in the second part. She will
Okay.
sort of, if there are any questions, she'll state the questions, and
Okay.
she will take over and say thank you. Are you done with your PowerPoint? We are working
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've taken it down. Should I put it up again?
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Mavish, over to you, please.
Yeah, now I am. Okay, sorry.
That's-
Yeah, so thank you so much, Dr. Altaf. This was very engaging. So we just want to let you know that we have participants from over 31 countries here. Special
Yeah, I
thanks
can see that.
to everybody who made time and who joined us for this session. After having a dedicated session on qualitative research methodology and quantitative research methodology, today we hosted this session to bridge the gap between both type of research methodologies and to bring together a mixed methodologies research insight. So how we do it, Dr. Altaf, we basically open up the question window for the participants after the first half an hour of the session. So I'm going to quickly scan through the questions which have now started to pour into the
Yeah.
chat, and will pose those questions to you. So you can also go through the questions in the chat and see if you come across any relevant questions, because the chat grows very fast.
Yeah.
First question from Bushra Johar is that are there any important factors that can help us decide in advance
Sorry,
whether
I can't clearly hear you. I'll just turn off the fan. It's
Okay.
Dr. Mavish, I would recommend you if you could use any other mic, headphones, or maybe your laptop mic.
okay?
There's a lot of distortion in your AirPods. Meanwhile, I will state the first question,
Yeah.
and you can figure that out. So we have a question from Bushra Johar. Are there any important factors that can help us decide in advance
Yeah,
whether
I'm sorry. There is an utter confusion between Mavish and Altaf and Gaur. Mavish, you are audible, but it's kind of slow. So if you could kindly raise your voice, otherwise it's better than before. Ji Gohar.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I'll take over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so some same respondents. There is a question that says, I don't understand. IUB Sayyida Kuratulan, same respondents for both phases of qualitative. She maybe is asking a question. Should there be same respondents for both phases, or in the qualitative and quantitative design part of the research? Ji Altaf.
Yeah, I won't advise doing it basically, because like when you do that, honestly, it kind of leads them to answer questions. If you are doing a qualitative, some people say when they are doing a qualitative research, there is no harm to send a quantitative one. But I think it really affects, in very simple ways. Like if you are asking somebody, if you are asking a question about, since my knowledge is restricted to journalism, you are asking journalists uh, 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 about their working conditions and this and that, and you put the question of education at the top, and they'll say, okay, I'm a PhD. Most German journalists have PhD degrees. And so when they answer the next questions, they'll keep in mind that they have a doctorate. So it will affect this. So I would advise to choose two different populations. But if you are doing, naturally you are doing a study in the same area, so these should be different, but from the same area, because then it will affect
I
the.
think it depends on the population and that you select for your study. And
Yeah.
in that population, if they are a part of your broad study, but
Yeah.
you then pick up some for a detailed intervention on the basis of certain qualifier and certain indicators that make more sense. You do not just do a random picking by and large for a more detailed exploration once you have the broad landscape. And usually that works well. G. Mavish, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So just to add to what Dr. Altaf has said, I think that it very much depends on the purpose of the research question. Sometimes you want to triangulate the information and taking the quantitative responses from one set of respondents and validating it with the other set of responses which you receive through qualitative research methodology. That helps you to bridge the validation between both the designs. So I have the next question, which is a very interesting question. It's from a participant from Malaysia, and they're asking, when deciding between an explanatory followed by sequential design, which is a quantitative followed by qualitative, and an explanatory followed by sequential design, which is qualitative first and then quantitative. Are there any other criteria that we should consider beyond which data comes first?
Well, I think the decision to give precedence to one over the other comes somewhere when you are developing your problem statement. Because your problem statement, there are many names of it, even if you call it your hypothesis, because some countries go into hypotheses and they don't go into problem statements. So I think that's the point. What do you wish to know? Do you wish to know what many people think about this problem? And it also depends upon the existing data in that locality, like in that universe that you are trying to understand. Like if there are good profiles available already, so you have the quantitative, you have a lot of empirical support in quantitative terms that could help you in basically having a qualitative one first. But if it's not there, then you need a quantitative one, which could be also what we call a convergent one. Uh, but it's always the main consideration is what is your aim to get. But along with that, what do you have in hand? Like if I am doing a study in Pakistan, so I'll see, okay, how many studies in this area are already there? What is their focus that could help me develop my project? And for example, there is a lot of anecdotal evidence which is written in books and things like that. So I say, I pretty much have the qualitative side a bit covered, but it needs kind of a research support. So I say, okay, I'll do a profile, do quantitative, and then it will be followed by qualitative one, which will be, I see another question, if that comes to the fore, I'll answer in that one. So it depends upon what do you have in hand, what you intend to do. These are two important questions.
Thank you so much. I think you have very much answered the next question as well, which is it necessary to equally weigh qualitative and quantitative parts of methodology in the mixed method study, or should we consider keeping a balance, or should the researchers be inclined towards one methodology of research and prefer it over the other? So many questions are of the same nature.
Yeah, the bias is always there. I see something like bias. The bias is always there. Many people think how to eliminate bias. And I think how to understand your bias is important. Like how to understand your bias is important, and how to put it there that this is the bias I have. This is something that historians do so very often. One of the biggest question that comes to the fore to the historians is that decision making. So can I make decisions because I am a historian? My job is to narrate, not to decide. But then without a decision, what would be the value of the study? So I think bias is always there. Stating your bias is good. Like it's good to have it. I forget the question. Sorry, I talked too much. So what was the other aspect of it? The beginning of it?
They're just asking that, is there any certain
criteria that should define how to maintain a balance between both the approaches, or is it okay if the researcher is inclined towards any
Yeah.
one particular methodology?
Yeah, the inclination is always there, so you have to accept that it is there. Nobody can say that I'm not inclined to one. Like I have a huge bias towards qualitative because I always want to understand the effective aspect of human situations. So I have to really curb my bias and say, okay, it's good to have these wonderful statements coming to me, but the research needs to be balanced by credible data that is more hands-on and gives you numbers. So at times you have to balance it by understanding your own bias. And again, the first question that I have answered, you have to keep in mind what is there in hand and what do you need to add more.
Thank you so much. So there are so many questions related to explanation of these terms, the three terms: exploratory, validation, and triangulation. Although these can be found easily using
I understand.
AI, but if you could just briefly talk about
Yeah,
this by giving
yeah.
examples.
Yeah, I understand. Like validation is something that if I give a human term, like we all, like all the pictures that we post on fake Facebooks and all the statements that we give are trying to validate us. Like most of the time we are seeking validation when we are on social media. So we are our perfect selves. These are the selves that we wish to be. Like these are the selves that we wish people to know about. The same is true in research. Like it's kind of validation is basically making sure that your study is not marred by bias. It's not for that we basically triangulation is done to ensure validation. Like you use different data sources. Like if you're doing simply a qualitative research, so it's again exploratory, explanatory. Explanatory, as we see, is predominantly quantitative because it explains, like, and it doesn't explore deeper. But triangulation means that you are using different methods. One way is if you are doing qualitative. Most of the time, qualitative, some people go into uh, in-depth interviews and they think that that's enough. But then you would like to do participant observations, then you would like to do focus group discussions. Why do you do that? Because you want to make sure that you have triangulated everything and also use two methods by having kind of qualitative and quantitative. And as I mentioned, you put opinion statements in your quantitative survey, which is basically a bridge to qualitative research. And then you use three other methods. So you are going into 5, 6 methods. And the reason that you triangulate is basically you want to get good results. You want to have reliable results that are valid.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So the next question is also about, research methodology, where the participant is asking, are convergence, design, and concurrent triangulation the same as mixed method research?
Well, the difference is in the intention, basically. Like if you design something to have, again, like having quantitative research and a commentary to it might give the same results uh, as a qualitative research that is as a mixed method research that's designed to do so. So it's not like the methods are important, but if you look at the methodology, which includes the theory, your intentions, what you wish to do, and also the research gap that you want to fill, and all these questions, so you are building something which comes to the decision whether you are simply going into a convergence design or you want to have a full matrix that brings you results which help you solve your problem statement. Like that's the difference. There is in results, most of the time, most studies look the same. Like if you do a quantitative and then you have opinion of certain people on that, and you look at the discussion table and you say it's the same as the whole effort that I have made by designing it, with giving precedence to one or the other, making it concurrent, convergent, whatever I have done was because, and at the end the results are the same, but the intentions are different, and It's more of not an ethical, but also kind of the whole structure of your study, your intentions, that makes the difference.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Altaf, in a scenario where the results of the quantitative research totally differ from the qualitative research findings, how should researchers cater to that kind of difference?
Yeah, that demands an alternative hypothesis. Like I have done that, so I have made that. It's not a mistake. It's the way you read your field. And I'll go back to Herbert Blumer. His book Symbolic Interactionism is basically 7 lectures. I'll share that. It's available on PDF. It's a good reading of qualitative research. And Bloomer said that he was dead against armchair intellectualism, and he said this is not good. But he said it's also not good just to jump into the field and say I know everything. I have a good sense of human emotions. I understand societies. Don't do that. Just stay back home, exhaust the literature, go into the field, and then submit yourself to the obdurate nature of the field. The field might literally gives you nothing. And and also when you are, since two things don't happen, some people do that, by the way. Some researchers, like I think in communication studies, Everett Rogers did that. Like he used to go to rural areas in Latin America and study and then develop a design. But it also means that if you are a PhD student, you don't have the resources to do that. You are not an American professor who's still known since the 60s. So most of the time, you don't have that luxury to get into the field and understand. And even if you develop an understanding of the field, as a Greek philosopher used to say that you can't enter the same waters twice. You can't do that. And when that happens, like I remember doing it, like I thought in my structure, in my methodology, when I wrote it and everything, and I said, because of education in journalism at the University of Peshawar, the journalism flourished, professionalism flourished. The result was nil. It didn't. Safety came from writing in English newspapers because government didn't have much control over them. They didn't bother actually, and they were getting better salaries and their job security was higher. So they were more professional. So that might happen. Then you can't go into the field again. You need to write, this is what I thought, this is what happened, this is the alternative one. It doesn't happen often, but it does.
Yeah, and it does come as a shock when there is so much divergence between two sets of data. Researchers, especially the young researchers, may receive it as a shock because there's nothing to triangulate there.
Yeah, I'll just add to it, Dr. Mavish. Like sometimes you, especially in qualitative data, it happens. Like it happened to an MPhil student of mine recently, and she was studying kind of working conditions of journalists in different parts of Pakistan, and she had questions, and she came back and she said, so the main answer was long stay correspondent. She said people in that part of the country don't know what long stay correspondent means, and I think that's to answer. The working conditions are so bad that they don't know what it means. So it does happen so very often.
All right, thank you so much. So the next question is also very interesting. Somebody has asked that if we want to process quantitative as well as qualitative data in SPSS, of course, it has to transfer from manual coding to then, themes and then some sort of mechanism to transfer the data to SPSS. Would that kind of research still remain a mixed method study, or would it be more inclined towards the quantitative research?
Yeah. I would say no. Because when you do quantitative research and you give it to SPSS, we all know that you give all the values. And you write what it means, every question what it means. So already when you click and you get the results, you are not simply getting the scales, but you are also getting narratives. So I think like the best way would be to use qualitative data as it's used, because then you will be having two different narratives and it will collapse right there. If it's the similar as the one that you collected through your qualitative research, somebody would ask, why did you do that anyway? Like, it's just the same. And if it's too much, there is too much difference. So, as the previous question goes, then you are in a fix. You don't know. But I would rather prefer to use different methods like critical discourse analysis or something like critical theory, not critical discourse analysis. The other day, somebody corrected me that I'm talking too much of critical discourse analysis. There are better ways to deal with it, and I totally agree. But I think that would be discourse analysis would be a good way to analyze your qualitative data. Whenever we enter mixed method research, we should always know that it's a more effort than using one.
Thank you so much. That explains it well. So this is our last question. I think I've scanned through the chat, and most questions are concerning the choice of tools, keeping a balance between both approaches, justifying why are you choosing the mixed method approach. So Dr. Altaf has taken questions on these aspects, and we hope that he has answered all your queries. So the last question that I'm going to take is that how should we develop variables to ensure authenticity of mixed methods research results? So should the variables remain the same in both types of different research methodologies, or should they be the same?
Being the same is kind of identical. I won't say that, but they should, like, again, I'll again go to your research problem, where you have decided to know a certain area of human existence, and these should conform to that. And naturally, they should have a connection. Otherwise, you won't be getting any results that are useful, because the reason that you are mixing two areas, there are quantitative and qualitative. That's the two ways of empirical research. And you are taking the whole thing in your hands and you're saying, okay, I want to have results. And if these two are not in sync, then you might be getting a discussion chapter which is really not helpful. So these shouldn't be identical. That would be wrong, but they should follow the same spirit, not the letter. That could be like at the end you need to sum it up somehow, and you won't be able to sum it up. It's not fiction. It's research.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. Altaf. If there are any closing comments that you want, and especially if you want to suggest any reading material, any books for the audience, because many of them have also asked if you could refer some reading material to them to, strengthen their understanding on mixed method research.
Yeah, it's. I'm sorry that I couldn't answer all questions, but Dr. Mavish and Dr. Sana, thank you for summing them up for you, Dr. Mavish. That's a huge effort because I see similar questions and they're in hundreds. I really appreciate that. It shows either I didn't explain anything or somebody took interest in the talk. I'll take it as the later. I have shared a few books with you last night. I was traveling, so I arrived late. I would send the names of these. These are good because one set is sent by a PhD student in the US. He's studying. I think he has almost completed his research. So there are thousands of books available, but there are books that are in use. And the other one is a professor who is in health communication, pretty big name, uses a lot of those. But added to that, I'll share a couple of other readings. And since these guys are my students, I don't know whether it's legal to send those PDFs. They have sent those PDFs to me. I don't know if we can share the PDFs with all the colleagues. These are 5 books that are good. And also, I think it's really important to understand that knowledge production is a process. And it doesn't come easy. It needs a lifelong effort. I still don't understand how to do research, honestly. I am at a loss. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And thank you everyone for being so kind. Your questions mean that you at least listened to what I was saying. And that's
Absolutely.
really hard. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Altaf. And a special thanks to our audience from over 31 different countries across the
Yeah.
world. Your questions also show us that you're listening to the presenter, you're engaged, you're involved. Thank you so much for that kind of involvement. And lastly, I just want to say that the key to successful mixed methods research lies in your own research design and how you integrate both methodologies and how you keep them aligned with your research objectives and your research questions. So the one answer cannot fit different contexts and different situations. So your context, your research questions, your own research objectives define this balance and the alignment, and you are the best judge for that. This webinar, its recording will be available on YouTube. If you want to refer back, please feel free to do that. If you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. We are going to share some reading material for you, some reference material for you as we receive it from Dr. Altaf, and from CLT. We are going to extend that material by adding some useful resources which you can, integrate useful AI resources, particularly because so many questions talked about AI and how, researchers can still integrate AI while remaining ethical in their research. So we are going to add that section for you, and we wish you all the best with your research journeys. Thank you so much.